What's up, everyone? It's your boy Norman Rad89 here, bringing you another video today to tackle my top 10 slasher films of all time list. I'm going to bring it to you right now. This one was really hard because I have a plethora of slasher films to dig into that I love, and it was really hard narrowing it down to that top 10, but I finally did do it, and today I'm presenting you the list. And of course, that means it's just my list, my personal opinion, so I would love to hear from all of you. In the comment section, share your list of some of your favorite slasher films. Now let's get into this video. Roll it. So it wouldn't be a top 10 ranking list if there wasn't some controversy involved in some way. And we're going to kick this list off right away with some controversy because I know some of you might be clicking off after you hear this. But coming in at number 10 for me is going to be 2003's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the remake. For me, this film, the reason why it's up here is it did everything that the Tobe Hooper original did for me, but better. I just like the execution of this one better. I like the gritty tone and grimy nature of this film. It's kind of like you want to take a bath at like a shower after you watch this film. It's like just dirty, grimy, grungy, like, you know, gory. I like Andrew Berniarski's performance as Leatherface. I like Jessica Biel and her group of friends better, and I think their chemistry and like they're just more likable. And even though they do some stupid things, like I still, like I said, find them more likable than some of the other characters. Add to that, we have Arlie Ermey in this film, which is a whole nother level of another antagonist, and the presence that he has on screen, it just oozes off the screen. So for me, Texas Chainsaw Massacre Remake highly deserves this number 10 spot. And it was also the first film I ever saw in theaters multiple times. I went to see this movie twice. I saw it once with my uncle and once with my mom when it came out. It was like around 13 or 14 in 2003 when this came out. So yeah, this film went hard for me. Texas Chainsaw Massacre Remake, number 10. Next up, at number 9, I'm taking you all the way back to 1981 as we talk about The Burning. Yes, The Burning is one of those camp slasher films that kind of came out of the Friday the 13th craze in that early, mid-80s. There were tons of films like this, and The Burning is just, it's one of the best because we have Tom Savini effects in here, and that just makes it so amazing. That's the best part about this film is the kills. But also another part of this film that's almost just as good, equally, is the characters. I find the cast in here just fun to be around. And even if there's a middle chunk of this movie where there's not a lot of kills and not a lot of action going on, it's just like the middle portion where you're spending time with the characters doing stuff around the camp. It's fun because you like all the actors and actresses and these characters. Jason Alexander's in here too. So yeah, it's just a really cool, fun camp setting movie, and I'm such a sucker for those kind of slashers. Plus, I also think Cropsey is highly underrated in terms of, you know, slashers. He doesn't really get talked about as much as the big three, and I think Cropsey needs a little bit more love. Coming here in at number 8 is going to be a 70s slasher, one of my favorite 70s slasher films, and that's Alice, Sweet Alice, directed by Alfred Solo, starring Brooke Shields and Paula Shepherd. Man, this movie goes hard, has a very good, well-crafted story at the center of the movie. That's probably the best thing about this is the story and the performances from the actors and actresses. It's just so amazing, like for real. Alice, Sweet Alice is one of those movies that every time I watch it, I feel like I get something new out of it. And that's the best thing about movies is if you can rewatch value on a movie is a high reason why films get a good rating, and this film has a lot of rewatch value for me because I find every time I watch it I get a new performance I like even more, like or the score or the pace of the movie, the dialogue. There's just something I appreciate a little bit more about this movie every time I watch it. I love even the background history to this film. It used to be called Communion, and they ended up renaming it to Alice, Sweet Alice when they got a new production company to distribute this film, and like it's just a cool film that Alfred Solo did, and rest in peace, we did lose him recently, and yeah, this movie is always a heavy rewatch film for me. Like I said, rewatch value very strong in Alice, Sweet Alice. I also like the design of our slasher with the yellow, like kind of church jump, like, or the jacket, like raincoat, yellow one, and the mask that's such a simple, like that see-through mask with the makeup on it. It's so effective, this film, and I love it. Now, coming in at number 7, we have Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson's Scream, and yes, you can't deny what Scream did for the slasher subgenre in the late 90s, like at this era of time. slasher subgenre was pretty much dead. There were thriller and there were horror movies going on and body horror and stuff like that, but slasher subgenre was nowhere near as potent as it was in the late 70s and early to mid 80s. And then Scream came along and it just blew the door open for so many other copycat films that came after it. But my favorite thing about Scream is probably the dialogue, the script in general. It's just really freaking strong. There's really natural dialogue that comes from all of the characters. Plus, we have a fantastic cast. Nev Campbell, Skeet Ulrich, Matthew Lillard, David Arquette. Like, the list just goes on and on. Everybody in this film is great. Henry Winkler. Like, it's just a cast member all across the board in this film. And Scream, like I said, is one of those movies. Every time I rewatch it, it's just, I still feel the same way. It's like nostalgia. I still laugh at the laughing parts I want to laugh at. There's shocking scenes that I still find shocking. Like, it's just one of those movies that stands the test of time. And Scream, yes, is very strong. Deserves this number 7 spot on my top 10 slasher films list. Coming in at number 6, we have another camp setting slasher. Like I told you, I'm a sucker for camp setting slashers. Jason Voorhees' Friday the 13th is my favorite franchise, so you know me. And number 6 is going to be Sleepaway Camp. And this is one of those movies that, for it being like a copycat camp slasher film, it has so many other it's like an onion, so many layers that you can peel back on the story of this film. There's very strong themes. Valessa Rose as Angela is one of the best performances I've seen, especially at a slasher film at this time. She does such a fabulous job. I even like her cousin, Ricky. He does an amazing job as well, too. I like his language. He's so vulgar. It feels like kind of almost like me at that age, like when he's yelling at the older kids trying to defend Angela. Like, there's just great moments. That disgusting cook that you hate, you love to hate him, and then he gets this comeuppance when he gets the pot like poured on him, and those burns just look horrifying. The kills in this film are great. It's just got such a good camp tone, and it's got comedy in it, serious moments, a good strong theme, like I said, at the center of it. Like, this film probably has a lot of better themes and character development, like kind of, you know, just character psychology stuff than some of the other slasher films on this list, I must be honest. But Sleepaway Camp, like I said, it's just such a great film, and I highly recommend checking this one out. I actually, as a kid, a teen, used to fancy the second one more, but over time, like, this film, the Sleepaway Camp 1 is the best one, but Sleepaway Camp 2 is still a really strong film. Like, there's so many, I think there's 5 in this franchise, but the first 3 are all pretty good films, for sure. Plus, I also like the fact that Sleepaway Camp does something else to add on, sexualize the men more. The men have short shorts. There's men skinny dipping. Like, you know, there's men bulge all over the place. So it's kind of funny. Instead of, you're used to having the women and the feminine body sexualized in a film, and Sleepaway Camp kind of turns that on its head. And if you think about it, kind of prepares you for that ending scene, because you're constantly seeing like men bodies and men stuff. You're like, all right, you know, maybe there's going to be something at the end of this movie. Now we're here at the top 5. And before we get down to that, drop a like. I would greatly appreciate that. And also, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe so you get more videos like this. Now, opening us up at the top 5 is going to be Bob Clark's Black Christmas. And the best way to describe this film is this is a good Halloween blues, like Halloween hangover film for me. When I'm, you know, after October 31st and I'm feeling that drain of I have to wait a whole nother year for this, you know, time of year. And like, I love Halloween so much that in November to December time, that's like the perfect time to watch Black Christmas. It's got good Christmas vibes, but it fits the slasher genre. It's a very early 70s slasher, so it laid down the template for a lot of formula for what slashers would be doing in the decades later. I love the characters in this film. We have John Saxon, we have Olivia Hussey, Margot Kidder. There's just great actors and actresses, and all of them are so unique. This film actually tackles some heavy content in the fact that it actually speaks to now, as Olivia Hussey's character is dealing with her boyfriend as she's pregnant and she wants to get an abortion, but her boyfriend doesn't believe she should be able to without his consent. Like, it's just, it has a lot of stuff to say, but it doesn't overtake the slasher film. Like, the atmosphere, the ambiance, and the creepy nature of this movie is there. And add to that, we got the haunting calls from Billy that the ladies receive at the sorority. So I get goosebumps, like, for real. My hair's standing on, like, I get goosebumps thinking about this film, because Black Christmas is just so good. And Bob Clark is a great director, was perfect for this film because he treats it not like a slasher film. The way it's directed is it's like a very serious kind of crime thriller drama, but it's in such respect, and it has even giallo vibes in it, taking back from 60s like kind of Italian films. So yeah, Black Christmas goes heavy and is heavily deserves this number 5 spot on this top 10 list. I know you're all wondering, where are the big dogs? Where's Freddy? Where's Michael? Where's Jason? You know, what's going on? We'll get used to it. The next 4 spots are going to be Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, and Jason. You're going to see them up, and coming in at this number 4 spot is going to be the first horror film that I ever saw, and that's Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge, and I highly think this is the best Nightmare on Elm Street film. Freddy Krueger was never scarier than in this movie, and I've already talked ad nauseum about this movie because I did 31 on 31 for this one. I've done reviews and stuff, but Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 is just so strong. Plus, it's got body horror in it, which I love body horror. Like that scene when Freddy Krueger's peeling his head back and you see like the brain, his, you know, when he's coming out of Jesse's body. Like there's just horrific images in this film and just good line delivery from Robert Englund. I think this is one of his strongest performances as Freddy Krueger. So Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge is just such a comfort film for me. Like for real, it's a comfort film. I watched this Nightmare on Elm Street movie 8 times out of 10. This is the Freddy Krueger movie I'm going to be grabbing. It's just such a comfort film, and I love watching it. I can watch it today, tonight, tomorrow, the next day, and I will not get tired of this movie. Rolling in at number 3, ironically, is going to be Friday the 13th Part 3, 3D. I know people are like, what's going on? But Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D is my second favorite Jason film. Oh man, Richard Broker's performance as Jason Voorhees in this film is one of the best. I love the introduction of the hockey mask in this film. It's the birth of Jason as we really know him to be right now. And I like the characters in this film. Like that's what's really cool about Friday the 13th Part 3 3D is you just enjoy the characters, and I like spending time with them, and I like them. So when Jason dispatches them, I feel something more. Like, it's cool to watch a slasher where they're just asshole characters or you don't care and you just want them to die. But in this one, I actually do like these characters and everything, and I don't want them to get killed. Even that silly, crazy biker gang that Shelly and them get into the altercation with, there's just funny, good moments, great kills. I think the 3D camera stuff actually lends itself to having some awesome kills and creative stuff in this movie. So yeah, Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D goes hard. It has one of the best final girls too, Chris Higgins. So this film, and I like the fact that she has history with Jason. So yeah, once we get to that third act, it just is so potent for me. And this one, like I said, goes hard, has one of the coolest third acts and final sequences. So yeah, Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D definitely deserves this number 3 spot. And now coming in at number 2, the runner-up to the top dog is going to be Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. And this is my favorite Jason Voorhees film. It's just, this is the pinnacle peak of Jason Voorhees for me. Everything in this film just hits the right mark for me. I love the intro from the beginning when Tommy Jarvis sticks that stake in Jason Voorhees and turns him officially into the undead, or like a deadite or whatever he's supposed to be, to that third act when we have him tussling with Jason Voorhees in the actual lake with the fire and the boat. I'm all there for it. Megan and Court, like, it's one of the funnest casts and coolest characters to be around. Add to that, we actually have kids in the camp in this film, so there's so many fun stuff to love about this movie, and that's why I enjoy it. It's like great. And like, we have Tommy Jarvis's final arc in this movie, who I think Tom Matthews does a great job in that role. CJ Graham as Jason Voorhees is probably like my second favorite performance of a Jason Voorhees actor. And oh man, it's just really good, this film. It's just, I eat it up. Even that tongue-in-cheek humor that's in this movie, I eat it up. And Friday the 13th Part 6 is another one. All these films are like 4.5 to 5-star films. But Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, is another comfort film for me. I could throw it on in the background while I'm editing. I could throw it on in the morning, at night, any time of day, and I'll enjoy this movie. It's just such a comfort, especially when I'm in like a sour mood. Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, it's like healing ointment. We have an amazing soundtrack as well. Have to add that in by Alice Cooper. The soundtrack just screams 80s vibes, and that's why this film is so good. This was the peak, like I said, pinnacle of Jason before the film started getting kind of wonky. Sorry, I already fumbled my words because, yeah, after this film, the Jason movies, I know, they do typically get pretty bad after this movie, some of them. But I do have a fine place in my heart for all the Jason films. But Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, like I said, is just that peak film that I really do love, that I just eat up and just adore so much. And every time I watch this film, like, all the scenes, especially that scene like with Megan and she's running with Tommy Jarvis, like in the Corvette, like she's driving it trying to get away from her dad and the cops are chasing him. Like, so many good epic moments in this film. So yeah, definitely deserves this #2 spot. Now we're here at the top dog, the #1 spot, and let's not waste any time at all. It's John Carpenter's Halloween. This to me is the granddaddy, the grandpapa of slasher films. I know there was films before this, slasher films. We had Psycho, Peeping Tom, A Bay of Blood. So there were movies before this that did it and laid down the template and stuff like that. But John Carpenter's Halloween, I think, is just, it's the fine package. It's like the blueprint. It's like the one you teach at school. You're like, this is how it's executed. This is how you lay down a slasher. Very simple story, and execute it to perfection. And I think mainly it's because of John Carpenter's direction and Deborah Hill. They're amazing. The atmosphere that they built for this film is just spectacular. You can really feel that fall atmosphere and ambiance anytime in this movie, at like any year, whenever you watch it. Michael Myers is one of the greatest, most iconic slashers, and I like Nick Castle's performance. He really did put little homage, little tweaks on Michael Myers' performance that made it unique. And yeah, this is just, might not have some of the greatest acting, but we have Donald Pleasance in this film as Dr. Loomis, who delivers so many epic lines, and his acting is just top notch. For a lot of the other kind of subpar acting we have in this movie, it's okay because we have Dr. Loomis and stuff. And like I said, that this film really did package that perfect slasher subgenre vibe into a film, and it played out perfectly, and no one, I don't think, thought it would be as epic or lead to what it led to in terms of kicking the door open for so many other slashers, or leading to a huge franchise that is now going to have another film coming this October. I don't think anybody knew that this film was going to spawn those things. But John Carpenter's Halloween is heavily deserves and is the king of this #1 spot for top 10 slasher films. But as I said in my intro, this is just my list, my personal opinion of my 10 favorite slasher films. I would love to hear from all of you in the comments section, because then we could have some awesome cinema debates and talking about other slasher films, because there's so many that deserve to be on this list for real. Like, I made this list like 6 or 7 times, and I was like, I don't know. It's so interchangeable that even if you ask me a month from now, I might have other entrants on this list, or the spots might be a little bit changed, because I love these films so much. So a lot of these are kind of interchangeable, but like I said, slasher subgenre is my favorite. I eat up all these cliches and tropes, and yeah, so that's why I enjoy these films the most. Thanks for sticking around with me, y'all, and don't forget to like and subscribe, but most importantly, have a safe and happy day. Peace out.